Karolina awoke in her new world with a glass heart. It felt as if both roses and their thorns grew within that heart, for it held all the happiness and sorrow she had ever experienced in the land of the dolls. When she moved, it rattled against the glossy wood of the panel in her chest. Trembling, Karolina raised a hand to her face. It took only a single touch for her to realize that the crack that had raced up her cheek in the land of the dolls was gone. When she lowered her arm, her fingers were smudged with blush-pink paint that smelled fresh. The kind wind had told her that someone in this human world had called out to her. So that person, whoever it was, must have been the one who had fixed her face and placed the glass heart inside her. Karolina glanced around and realized that she had been set on top of a high table amid wood shavings and coils of ribbon. While she was not made of glass or porcelain, as some of her friends had been, she did not want to fall from her perch, so she stayed very still to avoid losing her balance. To her right was a huge shape like a mountain, though it was not as big as the ones in her country. A long, rough cloth had been draped over it. Karolina could not imagine what could be underneath it. Across from the table, a large window looked out into the darkness, which was broken only by the faint yellow glow of street lamps. They were not made of peppermint sticks, as the ones in the land of the dolls had been, but instead rose like dark, sturdy trees from the cobblestones. The world outside did not look inviting, but the room around her reminded Karolina of her cottage, warm and friendly. However, this shop, for it was a shop, she realized, was not full of ball gowns and jackets and scarves as her cottage had been. It was full of toys. There was row upon row of rocking horses whose flanks had been painted with daisy chains and autumn leaves. There were plush animals of many different shapes and sizes on the shelves, their tiny thread mouths smiling. And best of all, there were dolls everywhere. None of them had scratched faces or limbs scorched by fire. They all seemed at peace, ready to love and be loved. They were safe. These other toys weren't like Karolina, though. She did not see any of them walking along their shelves, and none of them greeted her. They weren't alive and had no hearts of their own, and Karolina knew as well as any doll that only a creature who possessed a heart could be truly alive. But Karolina envied the silent toys a little. Her glass heart had filled with gray dread. She was so alone. But if the kind wind was to be believed, someone was waiting for her. Where was this person? The clatter of approaching footsteps made Karolina go rigid. A door at the back of the shop opened, and a man appeared. He had a red beard, as if the morning star had briefly touched it with her fingertips, and wore a pair of white pajamas. He rubbed his green eyes as he walked toward her, limping. Now that he was closer, Karolina saw that the stranger was neither a little boy nor an old man, but somewhere in between. Still, Karolina imagined that if he picked her up, she would stand only a little taller than his hand, which was speckled with the same pink paint that now coated Karolina's fingers. He must be the person the wind had told her about, the one who had repaired her face and given her a new heart. The man, the dollmaker, sat down on the stool beside Karolina, wringing his hands. She could see that his face was streaked with tears that looked fresh. They had turned the pale skin of his cheeks as red and angry as battle cries.